At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked number one in innovation for 10 consecutive years and number two among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level. Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase, the podcast that helps you succeed in your business, life, and career. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, with the Modern Observer Group, and with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. How you doing this week, Chip?
I'm happy to be here today. I just survived a weekend with the grandkids where they were beating me up all weekend long, and I just had a ball with them. They're 5 and 3, so it's not bad, but man, life is good. What can I say?
Excellent. Yes, and we're actually all over the Northeast having a massive heat wave. In New York City, they are expected to break over 200 weather records over the next few days. So if you're in the Northeast, try to stay cool. That's what we're doing.
Yep. Thankful for the air conditioner.
Yes. Air conditioning is a wonderful invention. And, of course, it's always good to learn about air conditioning, but it's good to learn about anything. And that's actually what we're going to talk about today, is the benefits of lifelong learning and some simple ways that you can keep doing it. And there are so many benefits, not just to building new skills and helping your career or your business, but it's been proven there are actually health benefits to lifelong learning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's boosts both your mental and your emotional well-being. Basically, it takes your mind off of everything else that's going on in the world. So if you can concentrate on improving yourself, it's just a wonderful thing to be doing. And obviously, it's great for personal and professional growth and development and pursuing passions and so on and so forth. So it's a program that if you're not into today, hopefully after today, you will start doing something to work on yourself, which is so important. I mean, we do talk about this just about every week in some way, shape, or form. It's so important to work on that person in the mirror, because without that, nothing else is going to work.
Absolutely. And, it is amazing the physical benefits that learning actually has, because every time you learn something new, you create new neural pathways in your brain. And that actually enhances your brain activity. But now they're finding that every time a new neural path is created, nerves actually grow myelin. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with myelin, myelin is a biological protector that nerves have. And a lack of myelin is actually what causes multiple sclerosis and other anti-inflammatory and autoimmune disorders. So by building up your myelin, you're actually improving your health, your mental health and physical health, and helping to fight off autoimmune disorders.
Yeah, that's so important to be doing that. Obviously, what learning does is it keeps your brain active, and I'm sure that's one of the ways that you're developing that the myelin that you're talking about. And if you're just sitting there all day long doing nothing as far as personal development goes and just going through your tasks day to day at work and so on and so forth, you're probably getting bored or a little bit frustrated and so on and so forth. And learning new things, it's so important in actually developing your own self-esteem, because the more that you learn, the more interesting life is, no matter how old you are. And you and I can talk about that as far as that goes, because we've been doing that forever. If we were the same people that we were 20, 30 years ago, obviously we wouldn't be doing this podcast because we'd probably be bored to tears. So,
Very
but
true.
it's so important. And it's really, just like anything else, it's something that you can easily start doing. It could be a book, or it could be listening to a podcast or an audio book. There's a whole lot of different things to do. And one of the things you can do is start out by listing different things you're interested in and start reading about that. Or if you want to watch a YouTube video or something else, I mean, there's so many things out there. But if you can just start doing something, maybe for 10, 15 minutes a day, and then a half an hour and so on and so forth, put in an hour a day of personal development and watch what happens to yourself.
Yes, there are so many different ways, and we're going to talk about some of them. And, a lot of people will go, oh, well, it's time consuming, it's expensive. It isn't necessarily. We're not talking about going back to college. We're talking about little things that you can do. And one of them is an amazing little app called Libby. And Libby is your public library on your phone. You can actually download ebooks to your phone or tablet through Libby. You can download audiobooks, so you can listen to these audiobooks while you're in the car, while you're doing dishes, while you're doing other things. And all of it is free. All you need is a library card. So this is the library of the 21st century. You don't have to go to the physical building anymore. The Libby app lets you take out electronic media.
That's amazing. That's something that I have not heard of, even though I listen to Audible all the time. But that's something I just wrote that down. So thank you for the education. And I hope everybody out there that doesn't know about that wrote it down too.
Yeah, it's an amazing app. I mean, yes, you're not necessarily going to get the selection that you would from an Audible, but Audible is a paid program. You have to buy credits, subscribe. So if you're very budget conscious, Libby is a great way to get started. And of course, you mentioned YouTube. There are so many educational programs on YouTube, all of which are free. You just have to sit through some ads, which, let's face it, in the scheme of things, not a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ads just started coming over the last 6 months or so more heavily, but you can skip through them. And the bottom line is, I mean, YouTube was a library also. I mean, if there's authors
Yep.
and people that you're interested in, if you just go to the search and type in their name, you can watch videos of their speeches, of their classes, of a whole bunch of different things on there just by doing that. So, I mean, you could get lost in YouTube for hours and really learn a whole lot. So that's, to me, I mean, that's the visual with the audio library there, but I definitely want to check out this Libby thing also. So, but
Another platform that not usually thought of for education is Instagram. I actually just recently started following Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, Mel Robbins, and they post podcasts that they're doing. Kevin O'Leary posts a lot of his appearances on television where he's talking about the economy, business. There are a load of people posting their podcasts on Instagram now, or at least clips of them. So if you're not sure what podcast you want to listen to, but you know that some of your favorite people have podcasts, you can follow them on Instagram and get little clips to learn more about their podcast. see what they're talking about and see if it's a good fit for what you're looking to do. And
Yeah,
I'll be honest, I never thought I would be talking about Instagram for education, but there it is.
yeah. I haven't been on Instagram for years either, but um, anyway, I mean, a lot of you folks out there are business professionals, or you're looking to advance in your company and that kind of thing. And one of the best things you can do is be proactive. And if you start being proactive, learning things about what your business does, what your company does, and so on and so forth, and your boss sees that in you, you are more likely to advance quickly in that company. Or if you're looking to move on to someplace else, and we have talked to career coaches out there too, start looking at different things that you're interested in, pursue different career paths that way. But the more that you learn and educate yourself on that, the more you have the ability and the opportunity to advance quickly. So that's one of the great benefits of that. And obviously, personal growth and well-being is a big thing too. But there's so many different ways that lifelong learning is going to benefit you.
Yes, and if you're looking to get ahead in your career, lifelong learning is a key to that because job posters, HR folks, hiring managers, they're not looking at titles anymore. They're not looking at job responsibilities anymore. They want to know what you've actually accomplished. What are your achievements? And if you can honestly say, you are an expert in XYZ subjects, and this is how you applied it in your job, or you learned more and you can impress a hiring manager during an interview where you're talking about a subject that is crucial for their business, that's going to give you a leg up. But you have to do your research and you actually have to understand what you're learning. So, we talk a lot about audiobooks, and this goes the same for YouTube videos. Don't think that you listen once and you're done. Listen to it, but then let it set in. And then a little while later, maybe a few weeks, few months later, even a year, listen again or watch it again. You'll be amazed at the fact that you might have missed stuff, or now that you've actually assimilated it once, you're having a better understanding of the material that you're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why they call it a library. It's not just a one and done thing. I mean, it used to be just books for research, but now everything is there at your fingertips. And if in YouTube you can save things in your favorites or watch again, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do this. Obviously, Audible, you have your whole library of things, but you can create folders of your favorites and categorize things that way also. And it is so important to go back to things periodically. There are certain things that I really like to listen to a lot. I talk a lot about the five agreements and so on and so forth, as far as the way things really is, what the real world is all about, reality. And every time I listen to those, even though I've listened to a few of them probably 6, 7, 8 times, I learn something new that I haven't learned before. So with YouTube, there are segments out there, and they can be short segments, but if have those to go back to from time to time, that's great. If you can write them down or copy them and put them in like a little library on your computer so you can go back and have your own library for reference, that's a great way to do it too. But the bottom line is just get started. There's all kinds of help out there. And if you get started and start organizing things and keep going back to that, you are going to achieve a lot.
That's so true. And we're talking about short videos on YouTube, but if you're into longer videos, most streaming services have documentary sections, things from Discovery Channel, from the History Channel, from National Geographic, depending on the streaming service. But there are also streaming services that are just dedicated to learning. Curiosity Stream is a streaming channel that you can get actually very inexpensively. Sometimes it's on sale for as little as $10 a year. And it is all documentaries. It is all about learning. If you're looking to learn more about spirituality, metaphysics or things along those lines, Gaia is an amazing streaming service. There's not only programs and they actually have exercise videos to teach you yoga, tai chi, martial arts. And they also have events that you can attend live, but many of them are streamed on the streaming service. So it is a whole other experience for what you want to learn. So the first step in any of this is figure out what you're interested in and follow along there. But the real magic happens once you start your journey and things start to connect. Over the past several years, I have listened to books and watched documentaries, and I tend to lump things together based on an interest of the moment. But aside from business,
you just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
I have learned about engineering, quantum physics, Buddhism, Kabbalah. And one thing actually leads into another, where somebody that I'm listening to on a self-improvement tape will mention a principle in Buddhism, and I'll go, oh, you know what? I need to learn more about that. So the next book will be a Buddhist book. And then I'll listen to a couple of books on Buddhism, and then I'll go, well, wait a minute, these are interesting concepts. But that's also similar to what I know from quantum physics. Let me listen to some quantum physics thing. And listening to quantum physics, well, now I need to go back and learn a little bit about the history of quantum physics and the history of scientists, which leads me to biographies. You never know where each step is going to take you along your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people that you're learning about in these documentaries are all wonderful in a lot of different ways, all highly successful in a lot of different ways. But the more that you see them and the more that you listen to them, the more that you realize that as humanity, we really are all the same, because a lot of them have the same qualities, the same interests, and so on and so forth, just portrayed in a different way. I mean, the Dalai Lama, my religion is kindness. That could be any religion,
Yep.
Period. That's what it's all about, just getting back to the basics. All the different religions out there, they basically lay down their do's and don'ts and what sets them apart and so on and so forth, and they get away from what reality really is, which is just loving kindness. And hey, join me because mine is better than somebody else. And that's just using your brain to compare and criticize, which is all what, at the core, all religions frown upon that, if you're really going back to where we all came from. So taking a look at what these people have done, like biographies are fantastic. And I mean, a lot of people that you're going to read about, they have faults and so on and so forth, just like we do. Yep. And so on and so forth, and yet they've accomplished so much. But you can really, really learn from that. And, I mean, life is a process. And the older you get and the more you learn, the more in focus you become. I love Richard Rohr is one of my favorite authors. He's a Jesuit priest out in New Mexico that started the Center for Action and Contemplation. And he talks about life as being a container. And for the first 30, 40 years, you're filling up that container with accomplishments and all these different things that you're getting and so on and so forth. You get to be 45 years old and you're still a mess. And what happens as perspective sets in and you realize that the most important things in life are relationships and loving kindness and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, those other things, although they're fine, don't seem as important anymore. The book is called Falling Upward, which is great because over the first 40 years, you're falling downwards by filling up that container. And all of a sudden, you hit a point where you're falling upward by just putting things in perspective. It's a great read. And if you can get the bullet points from that, I would take a look at that. And basically, he's not in there preaching that you got to go to church and this and that, whatever. He just preaches about life, loving kindness, and relationships. He's wonderful. So just happens to be a Catholic priest, but that's just the way it is.
And there's also something else that happens to you with lifelong learning. You start noticing things. And sometimes it's, out of the blue. Sometimes it's because you've started associating with different people, but it's really the principle behind being aware. We've all had the experience where, you suddenly decide, oh, you know what? I want to buy a red car. And all of a sudden you're noticing red cars everywhere where you didn't notice them before. Well, when you're going about the lifelong learning, you notice things that you didn't notice before. And I actually had this last week. I was producing our sister podcast, Lighting the Candle, A World That Works. And they started to talk about certain principles. And they didn't go into it very deeply. It was a very high level. They just mentioned a couple of things. And immediately I made the connection because what they were referring to was the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I've read 2 of his books and watched a whole bunch of his documentaries on Gaia. So it was immediately, it's like, oh, okay, I know what they're talking about. And you start seeing those different connections where you'll start all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I just read about this, or I just heard about this. And then there's principles that will come up that you'd never heard before that make you go, I was watching an interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and they were talking about a principle of time that not only had I not heard of before, but Neil deGrasse Tyson had not heard of before. And what this was a combination of distance and motion. And essentially what they found is light from Alpha Centauri takes 4.3 years to get to us because it's 4.3 light years away. But the assumption had always been it reaches all of us at the same time. Well, they've now found out that if we're not standing still, if 2 people are passing each other when the light comes to them, they're not seeing the same light. Even though they're seeing it at basically the same time, because they're moving, they're actually seeing light from different times. Now, think about the implications of this. It means time is not what we thought it was. So how many times have you said, oh, I don't have time for that? Well, guess what? Time now becomes irrelevant. So we lose this excuse of not having time. And it really shifts your mindset. And this is really the key of lifelong learning. I'm using time as an example because this is one I just came across. But every time you learn something new, every time you're exposed to a different perspective, it expands and changes your mindset. So you're not just getting smarter. It's not just that you know more. It's that you're actually building the ability not just to know more, but to absorb more and absorb it faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to use the phrase, which we've all heard a billion times, that we are spiritual beings on a human journey. So we came from the timeless, and that's where we're going back to. And however many years that we're here, and obviously we need time so we can schedule things and do this and that, whatever, it does become irrelevant if you can get absorbed in other things. And I love that example that what you're talking about as far as two people doing that. And the bottom line is we are all different and we all see things differently, and yet we're all human. And the more that we understand each other and just accept, we talked about the word awareness, that's the key. Just be aware that that's really what reality is. And I love the phrase, whether people think about you is none of your business, or don't take yourself so seriously because nobody else does. That's the fact. And the more that we can work on ourselves and work on appreciating others and developing relationships with others, because that's what it's all about. As you're going on your lifelong learning journey, do it with some other people. Sit down and say, hey, this is what I'm interested in. How about you? I mean, I've just learned some things from you today, and I've known you for probably 15 years. And I think I learn something from you every week. It's just so important to do that thing. But the key is just get started. There's so many different ways you can do that out there. So just get yourself organized and just start it.
Yeah, there are book clubs that you can join, so you're not doing this alone. But also, people have a very limited definition of learning. And everything we've mentioned so far, we've talked about fact-based learning. But you can also learn by reading or listening to novels, fiction, comedy. I actually was watching something from the History Channel the other day, and they started talking about this event that had happened in San Francisco about 150 years ago. It was a gentleman who had a mental disorder, and he lived in San Francisco, and he thought that he was the king of America.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
And he started issuing currency that he would give out to the people of San Francisco. Now, he was completely harmless, and everybody knew him. And they would take the currency, they would spend the currency with him, and basically made him feel like he was really the king. Well, up until I had heard this story before, but I heard it as part of a fictional novel and had no idea that it actually happened. So you never know where you're going to pick up things. So the next time you're reading a novel and something catches your ear, do a little research, see if it's based in fact. A lot of writers use fact in their fiction to give it more authenticity. So you never know what you're going to learn. And we started this off talking about there are health benefits to learning. Well, listen to some comedy, read funny books, laughter. We've all heard the saying, laughter is the best medicine. Well, it turns out that laughter is a very powerful medicine, and you can benefit your health by laughing more. So you can go to Audible and get funny books. You can go to Libby. You can watch comedy on YouTube. And this is still learning. You're laughing, you're improving yourself. This is part of the journey. Don't think of one of the reasons that lifelong learning is so hard for so many people to get into is because they're trapped in the image of learning as what we did in public school. And unfortunately, our public school system does a great disservice to learning because they're more about this is the fact, you have to memorize the fact, now take the test. Well, guess what? When you don't have to take the test, when you don't have to memorize a fact, learning suddenly becomes a lot more fun. So, take advantage of all of the resources that are available and never stop learning. And there are actually more resources as you get older. Most states now have programs where if you're a senior citizen, you can take classes at the local community college for free. And that's a program that's going on across the country. And of course, there's online learning for low or no cost. And there's online workshops like the ones we're running with our Summer of Success program. There's, we're running programs to help you market, to help you communicate, to help you beat stress. Take a look at online learning. It's so powerful. And of course, wherever you found this podcast, there are thousands of others waiting to entertain and educate you. And we are coming up on the end of our time here. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway from today?
I love your currency analysis. I had not heard that one before, but the law of attraction says that you become what you think about. With 60,000 thoughts a day, a lot of them are negative and this and that, whatever. What learning is the currency to get you away from the thoughts about yourself and everything that's negative out there and concentrate on something that interests you, something that makes you laugh. Laughing is the best thing that you can possibly do as far as I'm concerned. But the bottom line is you have the choice to start right now to do that and to continue on. And the more that you do that, you might find yourself on YouTube for 3 hours and think you've only been there for 10 minutes. Seriously, that could be an experience that you're going to have. And that'll be the best 3 hours that you've had all day where you could have had a stressful 10 minutes. So just get out there and do it. It's so important to work on that person in the mirror and just put things in perspective. It's all about relationships and kindness. It's not about all the other material things out there that we're bombarded with 24/7.
Right. And you don't have to do it all at once. Listen to an audio book for 10 minutes a day. Read 5 pages a day. You don't have to sit down and plow through an entire book in one sitting. It doesn't have to be that intense. When you're standing online waiting to pay for something at the grocery store, pop on an audio book from your phone. Do it minute by minute, whatever fits your schedule. And I think for me, the big takeaway is that there are so many resources that you can use for this, and the cost is so little, and the benefit is astronomical. So join us on this journey of lifelong learning and never stop learning. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch every episode at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.